good evening. All men can, but most men won't. And what we're talking about is vetting women. So when you first get into a relationship, it's a pretty woman. Most of the time you're so excited and so relieved. Sometimes it's more relief than excitement, and that's cool. That's not usually how it works for them. More often than not, they're just super, super excited. It's kind of like a little kid unwrapping presents on Christmas morning. They want to see what they're gonna get. You know, they're all fired up about it. For most men, it's more of a relief combined with also being excited about, having this, new person to spend time with and everything. There's a really good short video from Psych Hacks. I believe the title of it was Feast of Crumbs. And in that video, he did a really good job of putting together, 10 minutes of very logical thoughts about why it is that most men don't do any vetting whatsoever when it comes to aligning themselves with a woman. And I think that his conclusion there is appropriate and really correct, and that's most men don't get any attention from women, hardly at all. And so when they do get a little bit of attention, they feast on these crumbs of attention that they get. And it really is understandable. I'm not shitting on you guys for behaving that way. I would caution you to be very careful though, because I think it's well documented at this point. There's really no excuse for guys to be just entering into serious relationships with women without vetting them. And that's kind of an exercise in walking a tightrope, because you don't want to just run a chick off, especially if you like her and she likes you. You don't want to just be overly protective. That's a weakness. And nobody shows you how to do any of this stuff. Your dad's not going to tell you. Your church isn't going to tell you. Your friends have no fucking idea what they're talking about for the most part. Most women see almost all men as universally disgusting and unattractive and ugly. So there's only a few men out there that you're going to come across in your life that are going to actually be able to tell you how to do any of this shit. And some of it's not going to make a lot of sense because you don't have the necessary reference points of experience. And so if someone tells you, it's like somebody who's rich trying to tell you how to save money and start a business and do all this, high level finance type of stuff when you're broke as shit and you're living paycheck to paycheck and all that. It's just, it doesn't apply. You don't understand. They don't understand, and you don't understand. You're missing each other. And it can be like that if you're trying to get advice about relationships with women from the internet. Most of the people that are giving out advice about relationships on the internet have very little experience with women. And the experience that they do have with women is women 10 years ago, women 20 years ago, women 30 years ago, that kind of thing. So somebody that's had a very successful, um, long, fruitful, honorable marriage, that's great, but they probably have no fucking idea what they're talking about if they're trying to give you advice about dating now. So let me share with you some things, and hopefully you can make some sense of this. I'll try to make it fairly logical. So obviously I'm going to cut this into 90-day increments here. The first like 90 days that you're dating a chick, she's going to sell you purity. She's going to sell you compliance. She's going to sell you agreeableness for the most part. If she really, really, really thinks you have potential, she'll sell you this idea that she's going to be your like executive assistant type, where she's going to help you do, all these things that would actually be helpful. If you're a religious type, a spiritual type, she'll sell you this spirituality and religion stuff. And I would say 99% of the time, it's complete nonsense. And it's so easy. It's so well documented and universal with men that we want purity from a woman, somebody that's not ran through, somebody that's not disagreeable, somebody that's compliant, somebody that's easy to be around. And they know this. They all know this. You don't even have to really explain this to women. And only the most inverted and disgusting ones will be disagreeable with you right off the bat, challenging with you right off the bat, admit to you that they're a straight up for the streets hoe, and then double down on that. Like if you're gonna object to her overly high 3-digit fucking body count, that somehow there's something wrong with you. Obviously, if there's a woman doing any of those things, then you're just going to stop talking to her right away, and you don't even owe her any kind of explanation. And so just ghost these chicks. And that's the best thing you can do. Don't even give them an explanation of any kind. Just ghost these chicks. And I think that goes without saying. So the ones we're actually talking about are the ones that are going to actually try to participate in this little game where they're going to sell you on the idea that they have some purity, that they can be agreeable and easy to be around, that they actually would really love to be your executive assistant type girlfriend and all that. And that they share very similar ideas with you on philosophy and spirituality and those kinds of things. So in this first 90-day window, it's so easy for women to sell you this idea. And, there's a million reasons for that. There's some documentation about how pliable women are socially because of the need to be able to do that. And so that makes sense. It also is it's a blessing and a curse. That's why it's very important in that first initial period, let's call it 90 days. It could be shorter, it could be longer. There's going to be this really super fake, complete bullshit version of them that they sell you, where they're happy about their life. They're going to say the most ridiculous shit you could ever hear a woman say. Like they love their career, they really like their job, that kind of thing. Obviously, that's bullshit, okay? So just keep that in mind for the first couple months. And then at some point in the 90-day area, they're going to actually start to shit test you and be disagreeable, and you'll see how there's some twinklings of how dysfunctional they really are and how depressed they are. You may find out about what kind of medications they've been on or what kind of medication they're on now, what kind of therapist they're going to, or what kind of psychological issues they've been diagnosed with in the past, or what kind of psychological issues their friends are diagnosed with now. And but they're not like that, of course, and they're different, and all that. They're not different. They're not. They're really almost all the same. Okay? And that's okay. You can work with that. You don't really have to put this. Okay, it would be a huge mistake to put the same kind of pressure on a woman that you would put on a man. Okay? You can put the kind of pressure on a man that will create a diamond out of a piece of coal. We thrive in that environment. We thrive in that. We need that to make us appreciate our own existence in the world. Okay? If you live a life with no pressure and no challenge and no struggle, you're going to be weak, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be a loser. Okay? Even if you come from like an upper class family and you have rich parents and everything, if they just give you money and make your life so easy, bro, you're cooked. You're fucking cooked. You may make it for a while until your parents die, and then what are you gonna do? You're fucking cooked. You got nothing going. The results that you need are downstream from the behaviors, and you are what you do repetitively every day. That's what you are. That's who you are. And so the same thing applies for women in terms of the results are downstream from the behaviors, but it couldn't be more different in terms of their response to pressure. Women don't respond to pressure like men do. They crack, they fail, they crumble, they can't get back up when they get knocked down. And that's why you're created to be their protector. They're not created to be your protector. It's only our job, not theirs. So you don't need to put crazy pressure on her to try to uncover whatever dysfunctional reactions and problematic ideas she has. She's going to show that to you in good amounts in a short amount of time. And so it's very tempting to overlook these things. When you see these red flags in the beginning, it's very tempting to just try to find a way to ignore it or justify those red flags being there. And I get it, but you have to become very comfortable with not allowing women to have any control over your decision-making process at all. It's your job to save them from themselves. And you can't do that if you let them be in charge of your decisions in any way. And they won't respect you. So when a woman says she wants to be respected, that's a lie. She doesn't want to be respected. She may think that she wants to be respected, but she doesn't. She wants to be taken care of. She wants her things to be paid for so that she doesn't have to go to work. It's really simple. And so don't be foolish and believe what she says. When she says that she's the owner of some level of purity, she's not. When she says she can be compliant and helpful, for the most part, she can't. When she says she has some connection to God and everything, for the most part, she doesn't. And when she says she wants to be respected, she's probably just regurgitating something that she saw on TV or off the internet. She probably doesn't have the capability of putting two logical thoughts together, one after the other. And so in this second 90 day time period, you'll find out almost all of these things that I've just mentioned. And the third kind of 90-day time period is when she'll attempt to treat you how her mother treated her father. Now, with the rise in single motherhood and the glorification of strong, independent women and all this type of stuff, it may happen a little sooner than that, but it kind of also depends on how weak and simpish you are. If you don't simp, you can avoid a lot of this. If you simp at all, that's a green light for her to just stomp you out. And your life will suck. And you'll be in this limbo of decision making where you have to try to weigh and balance constantly whether or not your life would be better alone, or whether your life would be better in a relationship with some shitty relationship with a woman. This is a reason why it's very difficult to be in a relationship with women now that you're not really super, super sexually attracted to. That's a big one. So one of the best things you can do is to make sure you are doing all of the things that you know you should do, like eating healthy, going to the gym every day, making sure that you focus on your purpose, which is a covert way of saying you need to make a fuckload of money. Okay, for you, not for her, for you, so that you can be successful, so that you don't have to answer to somebody else, so that you don't have to get up to an alarm clock when you don't want to, all of that, right? And then if you can discipline yourself to respect yourself to a high level, you won't take shit from other people, especially women. And there's endless things to say about that, but keep in mind all this bullshit that women are going to try to sell you. She's not a virgin, okay? There's no purity there. She's not a virgin. She's already been pumped by however many other dudes before you, all right? So don't be buying into this bullshit. And she wasn't compliant for them, so she's not going to be compliant for you either. It's a shame, but women these days, they're grown up being taught that they're superior to a man. There's this competitive adversarialness, and it's so sad. But they're taught that. They're taught from a very young age that men are dumb and weak, and that women are smarter than men and better than men, and women are, up here and men are down here. And so she's going to resent you for shattering all of those bullshit narratives that she's been taught her whole life. It's almost at this point just as good to vet her mother's treatment of her father as it is to vet her own behaviors and habits, because women really are programmed. Men are too, but I would say women are much more programmed than men are. Men can be, put under, like I said before, ungodly amounts of pressure, and we can change direction, and we can build ourselves up, and it's part of what we do. And that's why men are so great. Women, on the other hand, they aren't made to do that. It's not their duty to do that. And so expecting them to do that is a very foolish mistake on your part. Most of these behaviors that you're going to encounter with her are going to be attempts to exercise authority without any accountability. And you're going to have to deal with that. And you can't just like talk a girl out of it. I don't know if you've ever tried to convince a woman of anything, but it's virtually impossible. Most of the time they'll pretend to agree with you, or even if they do agree with you, they'll try to disagree with you just because they don't like you being right. They don't like being wrong. Because a woman being exposed for being wrong is actually like very life-threatening to them. They're so fragile. They're so sensitive, and it's a huge weakness, but it's just how women are. If you were to encounter a man that was like that, you would be disgusted. And it's tempting to be disgusted with women who are like that, but it's just a universal trait of a woman being a woman. They are very sensitive. They are very insecure. And that's why I said before, it's our duty to save them from themselves, you know. So there's been a lot of chatter going back and forth on different video platforms about the overall message of these Christian churches here in America taking in reformed, like straight hoes, and telling guys in the church, you know, these hoes are forgiven and you should marry these hoes. And yeah, I don't know, man. I've gone back and forth on that quite a bit. And lately, I'm trying to find the like workable solution here. And I'm thinking, okay, so if it was me, if I had to tell these women something, what do you tell them? Like, they can't be forgiven? I mean, I guess they can, right? Like, they can be forgiven. And what do you tell them? Like, there's no moving forward? No, you don't fucking tell them that. That's ridiculous. So you got to tell them that they can be forgiven for all this crazy, you know, mistreating men, disrespecting men, going out and getting pumped by all kinds of dudes. Like, disrespecting the men they're in relationships with, being just a disagreeable piece of shit for a woman. Like, you got to tell them they can be forgiven, and you got to tell them they can keep moving on in life. So like, I don't think there's any saving them now. I think that's a wrap for these chicks. I think there's no hope because they've taken too many dicks. They're too angry. They're too broken. And their programming is so deep that I don't think there's any fixing it. So the solution is you have to really, really try to get involved with the youngest, most unprogrammed woman you can find. So it's better off these days. You're better off with a huge age gap and going after women that are quite a bit younger than you, just from just the basics, the basic reasons. Like, they have taken less dicks, they're less angry, they still have like a little bit of hope for their life and a little bit of like happiness that hasn't been just completely sucked out of them and replaced with discontent and self-hate. And I say this tonight because I was at this church this morning, and they're, you know, having this whole church service about marriage and how people should treat each other in marriage. And They're trying to do a good job of telling young ladies that they should wait to have sex with people before marriage, and that, for most of the women in there who've already had sexual experience and they're single now and everything, that they can be forgiven and they can still have. It's crazy to me. They're like telling these chicks you can still have, even though if you're not a virgin, you can still have purity because you can be forgiven. Man, the fucking mental gymnastics that these guys, I feel bad for these guys. And I have no problem calling a spade when it comes to these churches. And I'm very aware of the downfall of these kind of messages. But I'm also very aware that most of these normal women that you run into on the street are cooked, homie, completely gone. They have vacated their soul. They are done for, man. And it's sad. And so I think it's worth it to go to church and talk to these women and be nice to them and be friendly. And that doesn't mean that I'm not aware that they've been ran through and that they're sad and depressed and on medication and going to therapy and fucking there's, in my opinion, they're done for. But I would encourage them to continue going to church and pray and ask for forgiveness and try to be positive going forward for the rest of their life and all that kind of thing. I would encourage them to do that. I think they should. Because like I said, you are what you repeatedly do. So yeah, tell these hoes, go to church. Take your hoe ass to church. Pray for forgiveness. Be forgiven. Get a positive attitude from repeatedly doing things that are positive and righteous instead of repeatedly getting ran through and being unhappy all the time. Good. Okay? Am I going to scoop some of these chicks from the church and talk to them and everything? Yes. All right? Yes. Am I just going to run through these chicks from church? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not suggesting that you do that either. But they're what would you tell them? Would you tell them don't go to church? What do you want them to do? You know what I mean? Go to church, take your ass to church, give the church some money. What at this point, what, man? What? They need help. So I don't know. I don't know that I would really tell them anything different if I was up there on stage at a church and I had to face all these middle-aged, unhappy, ran through women that are like having this existential crisis. They don't know who they are. They've taken on so much DNA from so many men that they're completely just like, it's like they have this cocktail of personality traits and ideas that they've taken on from all these men that they've been with. They really don't know who they are. They're totally cooked, man. It's wild. I don't really got a whole lot more to say about that. But yeah, you gotta, so the point of the video was vetting women is really critical. Anybody can do it. Most men won't because you don't get any attention. And so you're going to have a very difficult time excommunicating women from your dating pool. I would say it's necessary to do that. And you can save yourself a ton of trouble, a ton of energy, and a ton of money if you make sure not to get married to these women. Okay? I'm I'm more and more confident every week. The more people I talk to, the more guys that I have conversations with at work. I'm on a job site right now in Alabama at a private Christian university that's it's startling just being there and talking to the people that work there, seeing the students that go there, having conversations with the other guys that I work with that are other tradesmen that are doing different things there on the job site. Like, I'm more convinced all the time that getting into a marriage arrangement is it's an absolute fail at this point in America. Thou shalt not get married, bro. What the hell is wrong with you? Okay? If you find one of these chicks from church that's a virgin and you want to get married, okay, bro. Okay. You got me. All right? You got me on that one. I doubt it, but all right. You know, good luck to you. But if she's not a virgin, then there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to get married. All right? And vetting women for just any kind of serious relationship where you're going to like see her more than once every 2 weeks is absolutely critical. You can't allow these people to be a substantial part of your life because there's this phenomenon that is really got a foothold in America where these women are like chaos demons. It's like they're possessed. And if you give them a foothold to infect you with that, they will do it. And it's almost just like an unconscious software program that just runs in their personality. It's really sad, man. But it can be avoided for the most part by not having serious conversations with these women, not talking about politics, not talking about religion, not talking about whether or not you even believe in God. If you can learn to answer questions with a question, like when they say, "What do you do for work?" you say, "Wouldn't you like to know?" You know, things that like, don't answer questions from them. That is not going to increase your attractiveness for the most part. It's going to put you in a bad position. I mean, there's ways to still approach women and have conversations and be a fun guy to be around and have a good time and have experiences together and have a sexual relationship if you can. And all of these things are still on the table. But I don't think that getting married anymore in America is an honorable thing to do. I think to dishonor yourself in such a catastrophic way is in turn dishonoring the woman that you are trying to engage in an honorable relationship. So think of it like this. If you want to get married, you want to honor this woman, is it honorable if you take on some type of catastrophic drug addiction? It's not. That's completely dishonorable. So is it honorable if you take on some type of catastrophic legal issues? Nope. Is it honorable for you to take on a business partnership that is completely stacked against you in every way and then enforced by an entire military with guns pointed at your head, waiting to take you out as soon as they can with any excuse, and at times without even a real reason. No, that would be ridiculous. That would be foolish. And it would be a dishonor to your entire family and your wife for you to do something stupid like that. So, if you want to honor a woman, you have to first honor yourself. If you want to love a woman, you have to first love yourself. You can't be one of these completely broken losers that's trying to like get into a relationship with a woman and like get married because you think it's going to save you, or you think it's going to change something, or it's going to be better after you get married than it is before you get married. It's not. Everything after you get married is going to be exponentially worse. Okay, getting married to a woman is kind of like if a crackhead wins the lottery, are they going to just magically overnight, like materially change into not being a crackhead anymore? No, they're going to go get a shit ton of crack and smoke it. So don't give a crackhead a winning lottery ticket. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but modern American women are the epitome of dysfunctional, broken drug addicts. And some of them aren't even drug addicts. They just act like it. They just act like completely dysfunctional losers that are strung out on the worst hard drugs that the world has to offer. And most of it is just because of their phone, And the vast majority of them, if you do marry them, they will leave you over their phone. They will divorce you. They will wait. They will take advantage of you while things are up and allow you to redistribute resources from you to them. And then when the time is right for them, when you have a little bit of a downturn for whatever reason, then they will extricate themselves from that relationship and burn you to the ground on their way out. And then play the victim. And that's not like, I'm not even just talking about my own experience. I'm just telling you how this behavior pattern shows itself in women. And it's just, this is what they do. It's not like, oh, some of them are like that and some of them aren't. It's not like, oh, if she does that, then she's a bad woman or she's a bad person or whatever. It's just what they do, man. They will play the victim. They will. They will play the victim. All of them. I'm sorry to tell you, but yeah, all of them will do it. Your chick isn't any different. You think if she leaves you, she's going to go around taking responsibility for it and being accountable for her own actions? No, man. She's not. Okay? You think if she leaves you, she's going to tell the kids how it's all her fault and she should have... No, she's not, man. She's not. So don't come at me with the not all women are like that. I get it, man. Not all women are like that. But it's different, varying degrees. All women have this same programming. Some of them can have a little bit less of it in certain categories and a little bit more of it in other categories. It appears that they get this from their phone. So, if you have daughters, do not get them a smartphone. You want them to be happy when they grow up. You want them to have a good, wholesome, fulfilling life. Don't give them a smartphone. Is that going to be difficult? I mean, no. Like, how weak are you? If you can't not give a little girl a smartphone, bro, you shouldn't be here. All right. You should find an island to go live on and stay there. Because the rest of us are going to actually solve problems out here. All right. And at some point in time, we may actually have to confront one another over these issues. And the strong ones will defeat the weak ones. And so if you're one of the ones that can't even not give a little girl a smartphone, you don't want to be around for that confrontation because it's not going to go good for you. I'm just spitballing this stuff here. These are things nobody wants to say because they don't want to get their, videos banned or whatever. But I'm not actually saying anything crazy. All right, I'm just saying what we all already know, and maybe you guys haven't really heard anybody mention before, or you're too scared to actually think these things through to their logical end. But if we don't stop giving little girls smartphones, this doesn't end. And so you have a choice. It's like, do you want your bloodline to continue? Do you want the human race to continue? If you do, which, I mean, regardless of what your verbal answer to a question like that is, you're you're no different than me. You want the human race to continue. You want your own bloodline to continue. You just may not be smart enough yet to figure out that you got to stop giving smartphones to children, especially little girls, right? There's nothing worse for them. And then at some point in time, us as a collective group of men have to stop running through chicks. What are they going to do about it? Be pissed off? We run through them now and they're all pissed off. They're all worthless. It's completely disgusting. It's a fraud. It's a fraudulent arrangement. Sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to tell you, man. But the chances that you've ran through more chicks than me in the world is like 0%. So I'm not like saying I'm better than you. I'm not coming at you from a place of I'm up here and you're down here and I'm passing out judgment. I'm just telling you the reality from the inside, like from somebody that actually plays the game, that's on the team, that doesn't sit the bench, that actually plays in the game and wins. And then people want to know, how do I do this and how did you do it and all that, right? I'm telling you, man, it's fucking fraudulent. At some point, we have to stop running through these chicks and just leaving them like this. They're fucked. I'm saying this out of love, I have 2 daughters. So it's not like I'm, it's not like I hate women or whatever, It's not like I hate women. I'm trying to figure out the best way to solve this problem that we are all experiencing, where it's become increasingly difficult to have healthy relationships between men and women. At the same time, I'm juggling all the same shit that everybody else is juggling. I'm out here trying to get paid. I'm working my ass off all the time. But I'm also trying to put a little bit of information out there from somebody who's actually doing these things and actually has experience with women from 10 years ago and right now, what's going on and how this works right now, okay? And like I said before, I find that most guys that are trying to talk to people about relationships in the modern day have no idea how bad it has gotten. They are speculating. So be careful out there, boys. If you find a good chick from church who's a virgin and you want to get married to her, good luck, man. I really do wish you the best. I really do. I think that may be the only scenario where I wouldn't tell you absolutely do not do it, okay? But everything I said a minute ago still rides. Like, if you want to marry this virgin girl from church that you met, right? You want to honor her, right? You want to treat her in an honorable way. All right, I'm with you. I'm following you. Now follow me for a second. Would you enter into a business agreement that was a one-sided business agreement where you were being put out of business on day one of that business agreement? No, you wouldn't, because that would be fucking ridiculous. So why would you do that with her? And that's what a marriage is in the United States of America now. It is a one-sided business agreement where you are putting your side of the business under the table on day one. So you have to figure out an alternative way. There's a million ways to figure it out. There's options. There's plenty of options. All right? But this standard government marriage in America is over. Do not do that. And especially don't do that and then tell me that you're Christian and that's why you did it. I will spit at your feet. That's the most low IQ shit I could think of in this moment. So find an alternative way to be in an honorable, committed marriage relationship with this virgin from church that you met. Outside of that, it's a wrap. Stay out of trouble. Like the video, subscribe, keep it pushing.